Hello everyone, welcome to Pratibha Tech. We are going to start new series on the channel, that is interview question series. Initially we will start with core Java concepts and later we will move to some advanced concepts in Java, then Spring frameworks, microservices, Hibernate and JPA and many more. In each video, I'll try not only cover the interview questions but also will try to explain the underlying concepts in detail with examples including coding demos. This would be super beneficial for all types of folks, whether they are college students or freshers who is looking to understand the concept with clarity, or some experienced technical person who is looking to revise concept with better clarity at last moment. I'll try that each video provides something extra that gives more better understanding of the concepts. With this video, we will start with core Java concepts and interview questions. So now let's get started. So in the first video, we will try to understand the main method signature of the Java program, that is public static void main, string array arguments. So let's move to next slide. So here it is. So here the first question that might come is explain the statement itself, that is public static void main string array arguments. So to this we can give the explanation like the statement public static void main string array arguments is a method declaration that is commonly used as the entry point for a Java program. It has several parts. First part is public, that is an access modifier that indicates the method can be called anywhere in the program, including outside the class it belongs to. So suppose you might have your JVM installed in your C drive, and this class file is present, or this program is present in some other drive. So using giving the keyword public here, it gives the flexibility of calling it from C drive, this program from the C drive itself, where your JVM is present. Second keyword, that is static. Static is a keyword that indicates that method is a class level method, meaning it can be called without creating the instance of the class. So for calling static methods, we do not require to create objects of the class. It can be directly called from the class name, using the class name. So that is the advantage we get by using static. It belongs to the class rather than the objects. Void is a keyword that indicates the method does not return a value. In other words, it performs some actions but does not produce a result that can be used anywhere else in the program. So inside the JVM, this from where this particular main method is getting called, so there it does not expect anything in return. That's why this the expected return type of this method signature is void. Then we have main method. Main is the name of the method. It is the standard entry point for Java programs and is the method that gets called when the program is run. So this is the main method that has been actually defined in the inside the JVM, that you have to look for main method only. So it is the standard entry point for all the Java programs. So it is the method that get invoked when we run the program. The next part we have string array arguments. A string array arguments is the parameter list of the method. It specifies that the method expects an array of string objects as input, which can be accessed within the method using the variable name called arguments, that is args. This array typically contains any command line arguments passed to the program when it runs. If you try to execute this Java program through the command line, so that time we can pass some arguments. So that arguments will come as a part of string array, and that will become to this variable as arguments. So in overall, the statement public static void mains defines a public static method named main that takes an array of strings as an argument and does not return a value. This method is the entry point for a Java program and is where the program execution begins. So now let's look at that one simple Java program here. So this is that simple hello world program, or some kind of printing program that we are using in Java. So this is the method signature we are talking about, public static void main string array arguments. So what all things it does mean, so that is the thing here. So for every Java program, this is the mandatory thing. So if you try to run this one, So here we get whatever is there in system.out.println. Welcome to Pratibha Tech. I will be explaining about this in the upcoming videos. So here, so what we are doing, first we have created a class name, a class with the name test main. Then we have this method signature, public static void main string array arguments. Then we have some kind of statement that is getting executed when JVM calls this method. So here we have printing statement, that's why this is getting called. So whatever we have just talked, so it was all related to this one. So now let's go back to the slide and continue it further. So this was the first part. So the next type of question it might come is that if we write a class with just this class and the class name as test, and we do not have anything inside that one, can you tell if the code will compile or not without main method? So the answer to this can be whether the class contains main method or not, or whether it is declared according to the requirement of JVM or not. Compiler is not going to check this. At the runtime, JVM is responsible to check all these. If at runtime JVM is unable to find required main method, then it will throw some kind of exception saying no such class method error, that is main, or it will ask us to declare the main method. So if we try to execute this one in this one, if we will just remove this part, I'm just removing it, saving it. If I just try to run it in run configuration test main, so see here it gives error like main method not found in class Java interview dot test main. Java interview is this package in this complete project name dot test main. Please define the main method as public static void main string array argument. So without this one, the program will not be executed. But if you see at compile time, that means when we have just written this code, it will not throw any kind of exception, because it is not going to check the syntax or anything at compile time. Only during the run, JVM will try to find the main method that has been defined inside it, and since it doesn't get the main method, it gives that error saying please try to define the main method. I hope this point is clear. Now let me just revert this. Now let's go back to this slide for next question. So next question that might be asked, that can you explain why the main method have a specific signature in Java, that is why it must be declared as public static void main string array arguments. That means why it is we have to follow the specific format. So to this we can answer the main method must have a specific signature in Java because this is the convention that Java runtime expects. JVM is a software program. Inside JVM it is configured this way that it always searches for method with a specific specified signature. Specifically, it expects the main method to be declared as public static and have a return type of void, and to accept the array of string objects as a parameter. By adhering to this convention, Java programs can be executed in a consistent and predictable manner. So this is something, so this is the format which has been defined inside the main method inside the JVM, that whenever program execution start, try finding the method with the name main, where it has the access modifier as public, and that can be called without an object, and it does not return anything. So these kind of things it is specified inside the JVM. So this is since we are following that standard, we have to adhere to this convention so that the program execution becomes simple for all of us. If you do any kind of modification in this one, so it might lead to some kind of error. So that's why it is said the above syntax is very strict, and any modification might lead to runtime exceptions like no such method error. That is the kind of error what we have just seen. So this was one thing. So moving to the next question. So here, can you please tell if any modification possible with main method signature? Any kind of modification. We have seen up to this that public static void main is very strict, and we cannot do any kind of modification in this one with related to any kind of changes. But is it not possible to have any kind of modification? So here we can see, though the syntax is very strict, we cannot replace any existing modifiers or return type, but some kind of modification are definitely possible. They are as below. The order of modifiers is not important. That is, instead of public static, we can even write static public. So let's see this one with this example demo. So instead of public static, if I just cut it from here and if I write it here, static public void main, and if you then let me save it, then I'll try to run this. So happily the code is compiling and it is running fine. It is giving the expected output as welcome to Pratibha Tech, the message whatever we have written. So the order of modifiers, this one, access modifiers, these do not matter. Instead of public static, we can write even static public. So this was the first acceptable changes. Let me just revert it for now. Public static void main, okay. Now let's go back to the slide. So here, the second kind of modification that we can do, that we can declare string array in any acceptable form, like main, this is the method name. Then after that we can have string array args in this way, that means with space in between string and arguments, and string and this array arguments, and this one string space then arguments array. That means all kind of all acceptable formats of defining an array. So that is acceptable here. So let's try changing one of this and we'll see. So here it is string array args. So if I change it to string args array, so it should work as it is, the way it is working now. So here we can see we have got that the statement printed very well. So even this is working fine. Okay, let me just revert it again now. So this was the second modification that is acceptable. So going to the next slide. So this slide is continuation to the previous answer only. So the third kind of changes that we can expect is, instead of arguments, we can take any valid identifier. That means instead of string array arguments, we can take string array. For example, I have just written Pratibha here. So let's try this one. That means any kind of variable and any valid variables you can declare there. So here, if instead of args, if you try to change it to Pratibha, let me save it now, run it. See, even now we can see that we are getting our output correct. So instead of string array args, we can change the variable name arguments to any valid identifiers in Java, valid variables in Java. Okay, let me revert it again. Save it. Now let's go back to the slide. So the fourth modification that can be possible is, we can replace the string with var args parameter. That means instead of using main method and string array arguments, we can even write main method then string dot 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 arguments that represents that variable arguments. Let's try even with this. So instead of this array, just write 1 2 3 dots and then space then arguments. Save it, run it again. So even with this one, even this variable arguments, we are getting our output. So even this is one of the acceptable modification that can be done in main method. Now let's go back to the slides again. So here the fifth one is that we can declare main method with the following modifiers also, like final, synchronized, strict FP. So what are all these keywords that we will be covering in the subsequent videos. So we can declare all of these modifiers here. See, final is related to some kind of inheritance. That means it cannot be inherited. Synchronized is something related to threading. That means only one thread can access the method. And strict FP is related to some kind of floating point calculation. So if we tried including all of these in this method, then also it should work fine. So let's try with that. Final. See, we can include all of these or either of these. It should work in all the situations. That means we can add all of these in the signature, it shouldn't modify anything. So see, if you've just added one now, then also it is fine. Then strict FP, it should work with this as well. So even by adding strict FP, we are getting our output. And if you are synchronized here, then also it should give the same desired output. So still we are getting our correct output. So all these things that can be added. So let me just now revert everything. Public static void main string array arguments, save it. Now let's go back to slide again. So here to this we can see the conclusion is that final static synchronized strict FP public void main string with the variable arguments as per Tiva. This method is a valid main method Java signature. So if you try to copy this entire thing, Control C, and what I'll do, I'll just comment this first line, and if I try to replace the below lines here with this, S should be capital. Yeah, so if you compare both of these, then we have so many extra modifications that we have done in this method signature. So if with this we try to run it, so all the changes independently we have seen, now we are seeing everything at once. So even with this, it will give the correct output. So all these kind of modifications are possible in main method. I hope this point is very clear. So I have some more interview questions to be covered under this topic that I'll be covering in part 2 of this video. That's all in this video. Please like, comment and share the video, and please subscribe to the channel for more upcoming videos and many more useful concepts. Thanks a lot for watching.